This is Garden Girl Lynn Gohari with today's Finally Friday video. For today's video, we're going to be using the new Fifth and Frolic collection from Dear Lizzy. We're going to be using the 6x6 paper pad as well as some of the coordinating embellishments. In particular, I loved these folded ribbon banners. Obviously, they are too big to use for a card, but we're going to create something on our own to give a similar look on our card. The first thing I'm going to do is I have a piece of aqua colored patterned paper. It's hard to see on screen, but it actually does have a slight striped pattern to it. I'm also going to be using a feather stamp from the Soho Garden collection from American Crafts. And I wanted to stamp a background on this patterned paper. I'm using some chalk ink from Prima. The name is Attic Dust. And I'm just going to be creating a little bit of a background pattern here, even though there's that slight striped pattern on the paper. I wanted to give it more of a pattern. So I put down a piece of scratch paper so that I could stamp off the edge as I'm going along here, and I'm just turning the stamp as I go and switching the direction and filling in all of the spots. Not all of this paper will show on our card front. Some of it will be covered, but I'm just going to stamp the whole thing just so that it's easier to use. So now that I have that finished, just being careful so that I don't smudge the ink, I have a piece of cardstock, craft cardstock that I've cut to a regular card side with the opening on the bottom. I'm just going to add some adhesive to the front, and I'm going to adhere our stamped paper to the top portion of the card front. And again, not all of it will show when the card is finished, but I wasn't sure exactly how much of it would be covered, so I cut it a little bit bigger than I needed. Now I'm going to come in here and I have another piece of patterned paper. This again is from the same 6x6 paper pad. And I'm going to add that to the bottom, and this has a fun house print on it. But I chose it mostly for the color. The card that we are creating is mostly blue with splashes of like a dark pink for color and a little bit of gray thrown in there as well. So it's a pretty monochromatic card, and that's why I chose the house print patterned paper. So I'm just cutting off the excess, and now I'm going to come in here. This is a dot paper from that same 6x6 paper pad. And I'm just trying to figure out exactly where I want it on my paper. And I'm going to adhere it to cover where my two patterned papers meet on my card front. And I'm just lining it up on my craft mat so that I can make sure I get it straight when I lay it down. And usually if I'm using a 6x6 paper pad, I'll leave the edges larger so that I can then come back in there and just use my craft knife to cut off the excess. Okay, so that's basically the card base. Now we're going to create our folded paper ribbon. This paper is still from the same Dear Lizzy collection, but it's from a 12x12 paper instead of a 6x6 paper. So to create our folded ribbon, I want the pink side to show. So I am going to fold it over about 4 inches into a very soft loop. I'm not going to crease it. And I'm just going to hold it there. And I have the longer piece on top. So I'm going to just hold it with my finger, and now I'm going to make a hard crease, and I'm going to fold it back over again about 2 inches. So I have about a 4-inch loop and then a little 2-inch loop, and I'm just going to use my Tim Holtz mini stapler here, and I'm going to secure the folded papers, and there's my little folded paper ribbon. So I'm going to use my scissors and cut the edges into a banner shape. And usually when I'm cutting a banner shape, I will just cut in at the middle and then just use my scissors to cut up each side. Sometimes I'll use my craft knife, but it's just as easy to use my scissors as well. And now I'm going to place this folded paper ribbon right in the middle of that gray dot patterns paper. So in order to do that, I'm just going to put some adhesive on the gray paper as opposed to the pink paper so that I don't squish the soft loops that I've created there. And we'll use something, we're going to cover that staple that you see. It's tiny and you can cover it with a button or any type of embellishment. I decided I wanted to use one of the feather embellishments to coordinate with the feather stamping that I did on the patterned paper. And I'm going to use the gray feather. It has a burlap, looks like a leaf with it as well, and I love the texture that the burlap gives. And these embellishments are great. There's already jewels and a little bit of twine in that pink color attached to it. I'm just coming in here with a pop dot, and I just want to give my feather, there is already some adhesive on it, but I wanted it to give it a little bit more staying power, so I used some dimensional adhesive on the top portion of the feather. And now here are some of the stickers that coordinate with this collection, and I'm just going to pick a little sticker here in that same dark pink color, and it says "Thankful for You." And I'm just trying to tuck it underneath the gray feather embellishment here. And that will be the sentiment for this card. I'm just going to use a little bit more dimensional adhesive on the back of that sentiment sticker for more staying power. And I did go back, I want to mention, I did go back in and add a little bit more stamping with those feathers. You'll see it on the finished card here, just because I saw some empty spaces. And here's a detailed look. For more information, please visit www.2peasinabucket.com under the Finally Friday video tab.